The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional travel, financial, legal, or insurance advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information regarding the travel industry, travel regulations, pricing, and availability are subject to rapid change. The content shared here is based on historical trends and case studies within the industry. Viewers are strongly encouraged to conduct their own due diligence, consult with certified professionals, and review current government travel advisories before making any significant financial commitments or travel arrangements. We do not accept liability for any loss or damage incurred as a result of the use of this information. Imagine standing in the middle of a crowded airport terminal, the blue glow of the departure board flashing red with the word "canceled" next to your flight. Your family is exhausted, your luggage is already lost in the bowels of the airport, and when you try to call the customer service line of that discount booking website where you found a great deal, you are placed on a 4-hour hold. This is the reality for thousands of American travelers every single week. We have been told for the last 2 decades that the travel agent is a relic of the past, a dinosaur killed off by the rise of the internet and the convenience of the smartphone. We were told that we could do it better, faster, and cheaper ourselves. But here is the reality that the major tech platforms do not want you to recognize. The DIY travel era has reached a breaking point of diminishing returns. In an age where an algorithm decides what flight you see and a bot handles your complaints, the human element has not just become a luxury. It has become a necessity for anyone who values their time, their money, and their sanity. The American vacation has changed. It is no longer just about picking a hotel and a flight. In 2026, the landscape of U.S. travel involves navigating complex dynamic pricing models, shifting airline alliances, and an overwhelming paradox of choice that leaves the average consumer in a state of paralysis. Historical trends show that the average American spends over 40 hours researching a single week-long vacation, visiting up to 38 different websites before clicking the buy button. That is a full work week spent on unpaid labor, often only to end up with a mediocre itinerary that looks nothing like the curated photos on social media. We are living through a massive shift where the most sophisticated travelers are abandoning the search engines and returning to professional advisors. This video is not just a list of tips. It is a deep dive masterclass into the mechanics of the modern travel industry. We are going to deconstruct exactly why the DIY model is failing the modern U.S. traveler, and how a professional can unlock a level of value that is mathematically impossible to find on a public-facing website. For the next hour, we are going to break down the 5 foundational reasons why hiring a professional travel advisor for your next domestic or international U.S.-based vacation is the smartest financial and logistical move you can make. We will analyze the hidden infrastructure of the travel world, from global distribution systems to the private contracts that never reach the public eye. You are currently likely overpaying for your vacations, not in the sticker price, but in the lost value, the missed upgrades, and the sheer risk of an unprotected booking. If you have ever felt the frustration of a ruined trip or the exhaustion of planning one, this deep dive is designed to solve that problem once and for all. By the time we finish this masterclass, you will understand how to navigate the travel market like a high-net-worth insider, ensuring that every dollar you spend on your next vacation translates into a superior experience. The core problem we are addressing today is the illusion of transparency. When you go to a major search engine, you feel like you are seeing the whole world. You feel like you are in control. However, what you are actually seeing is a highly filtered, commercially biased slice of the market designed to maximize the profit margins of the middleman website. We are going to peel back those layers. We are going to look at case studies of travelers who saved thousands of dollars not by finding a cheaper price, but by accessing superior inventory. We are going to look at the potential outcomes of having a professional advocate when things go wrong, versus the catastrophic historical trends of those who go it alone. This is about more than just booking a hotel. It is about risk management, asset protection, and the maximization of your most limited resource, your time off. To understand why the travel agent is back and more powerful than ever, we have to look at the evolution of the industry. In the 1990s, agents were order takers. You called them because you couldn't access the computer systems. Then the internet democratized that data, and we all became our own travel agents. But something happened along the way. The volume of data became too high. The systems became too complex. The hidden fees became too deceptive. Today, a professional travel advisor is not an order taker. They are a consultant, a fixer, and a gatekeeper. They operate in a tier of the industry that exists parallel to the one you see on your laptop screen. In this first part of our masterclass, we are setting the stage for a total paradigm shift. We are going to explore why the U.S. domestic market, from the theme parks of Orlando to the luxury resorts of the Pacific Northwest, has become a minefield for the uninitiated. We will discuss the mechanics of the commission structures that are already baked into your hotel prices, meaning you are likely already paying for a travel agent service, even when you don't use one. We will explore the step-by-step process of how an advisor constructs a trip that an algorithm simply cannot replicate. This is the end of the era of the frustrated doer. Whether you are planning a massive multi-generational family reunion at a national park, a high-stakes corporate retreat, or a simple weekend getaway to a major U.S. city, the information we are about to cover will change the way you look at a boarding pass forever. We are going to move beyond the surface-level advice and get into the technical, financial, and psychological reasons why professional advocacy is the ultimate travel hack. We are going to look at the data surrounding trip disruptions and the financial recovery rates for those with professional representation versus those without. The promise of this masterclass is simple: clarity in an era of confusion. We are going to give you the tools to decide if your next trip deserves a professional touch, and we are going to show you exactly how to vet those professionals to ensure you are getting the highest possible ROI on your vacation spend. We are moving away from the find-a-deal mindset and moving toward a wealth management approach to your leisure time. This is the architecture of a perfect U.S. vacation. Let's begin with the first major pillar of the professional advantage: the mastery of hidden inventory and the truth about those best-priced search engines. To understand the true value of a modern travel advisor in 2026, you first have to understand that the internet is lying to you. When you open a tab and search for a flight from New York to Los Angeles or a luxury resort in Scottsdale, you are not seeing the full market. You are seeing a curated selection of inventory that has been filtered through layers of search engine optimization and high-margin advertising algorithms. This is the illusion of transparency. The major online booking platforms operate on a model of volume, not value. They want you to believe that the price you see on your screen is the absolute floor, the best possible deal that exists in the physical world. Historical trends, however, suggest that up to 30% of available premium inventory is never listed on public-facing sites. This brings us to our first major pillar: the mastery of hidden inventory. Professional travel advisors utilize tools that the general public cannot access. While you are using a standard web browser, an advisor is plugged into the global distribution systems, or GDS, such as Sabre or Amadeus, which serve as the central nervous system of the global travel industry. But more importantly, they are part of elite consortia like Virtuoso, Signature Travel Network, or Internova. These are not just clubs. They are massive buying blocks that negotiate private, non-public contracts with the world's leading hotel brands and airlines. Imagine a traveler named Michael from Charlotte. It is 2026, and Michael wants to take his family to a high-end ski resort in Aspen during the winter holidays. He spends 3 nights scouring the internet, but every reputable lodge shows is sold out for his specific dates. To the average consumer, this is the end of the road. Michael assumes the destination is full. However, when Michael reaches out to a professional advisor, the narrative shifts. Travel agents often have access to block space. Hotels frequently hold back a percentage of their most desirable rooms specifically for their preferred agency partners. Because the advisor has a personal relationship with the director of sales at that Aspen property, they can often clear a room that technically does not exist on Expedia or Booking.com. This is not magic. It is the result of a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure designed to reward loyalty and professional relationships over anonymous clicks. The data supports this shift. In 2026, the complexity of hotel pricing has reached an all-time high due to AI-driven dynamic pricing models. These models are designed to sense your desperation. If you refresh a page 3 times, the price goes up. A professional advisor bypasses this psychological warfare. They are looking at contract rates that are often static or protected by parity agreements that favor the agent. Furthermore, the agent is looking at the total cost of ownership for your vacation. When you book a $500 room on a discount site, that is exactly what you get. A room likely near the elevator or overlooking the parking lot. When an advisor books that same room at the same price through their preferred partner programs, the potential outcomes for the traveler change drastically. Let's look at a case study of a couple, David and Jennifer, planning a 2026 anniversary trip to Maui. They find a rate for a luxury oceanfront resort online for $800 a night. They think they've won. But a professional advisor looks at that same $800 rate and applies their consortia benefits. Suddenly, that same $800 includes a $60 daily breakfast credit per person, a $100 resort credit for the spa, a confirmed room upgrade at the time of check-in, and a 4 p.m. late checkout. Mathematically, the advisor has just increased the value of that booking by over $300 per day without increasing the price. Over a 7-day stay, that is over $2,000 in tangible, liquid value that David and Jennifer would have left on the table simply because they didn't know the hidden inventory existed. Step by step, the process of a professional advisor involves more than just clicking a button. They perform a comprehensive inventory audit. First, they check the GDS for real-time availability that hasn't cached on public sites. Second, they cross-reference your specific needs with their private contract database to see if a promotional code or value add applies. Third, and most importantly, they reach out to their human contact at the property. In 2026, while the rest of the world is dealing with chatbots, the travel agent is sending a personal email or making a phone call to a general manager. This human-to-human connection ensures that you are treated as a VIP guest, rather than a confirmation number from a third-party website. The truth about best price search engines is that they are designed to sell the most profitable inventory for the platform, not the best room for the guest. Many of the lowest prices you see online are for what the industry calls run-of-house or lead-in categories. These are the rooms that the hotel cannot sell otherwise. They are the rooms with no view, the ones that haven't been renovated, or the ones with 2 double beds instead of a king. Search engines rarely highlight these deficiencies because their goal is to show you the lowest number to get you to click. A travel agent acts as your filter. They know which wings of a hotel are currently under renovation, and which specific room numbers have the best views of the sunset. They are selling you an experience while the search engine is selling you a commodity. There is also the matter of the non-refundable trap. In a post-2020 world, flexibility is the ultimate currency. Many of the deals found on high-volume search engines come with ironclad, non-refundable clauses. If your child gets sick or your work schedule changes, that money is gone. Professional advisors almost exclusively work with flexible, refundable rates that allow for changes up to 24 or 48 hours before arrival. Because of their volume of business, they can often negotiate cancellations even when the official policy says no. This is a form of financial insurance that is built into the service. Imagine if you spent 40 hours of your own time researching a trip to the Grand Canyon. You've booked the flight, the car, and the lodge. Then 3 days before you leave, a flash flood closes the main access road. If you book through a search engine, you are now part of a queue of 10,000 other people trying to reach a call center in a different time zone. If you have a travel agent, you are likely already receiving a text message with 3 alternative routes, a new hotel reservation in a safe zone, and a rebooked flight, all before you even realize there was a problem. This level of proactive management is why the DIY model is mathematically inferior for high-stakes travel. But even beyond the inventory and the perks, there is a technical layer to travel in 2026 that most people ignore: the complexity of airline ticketing and routing. The U.S. domestic airline market is currently a jigsaw puzzle of basic economy restrictions, baggage fees, and shifting seat maps. A professional agent understands how to navigate the fare ladder to ensure you aren't hit with hidden costs that double the price of your cheap flight. They know which regional carriers offer the best reliability scores, and which hubs are most likely to experience delays during certain seasons. We have only scratched the surface of the financial advantages of hidden inventory. The real power of a travel advisor, however, isn't just in what they can find for you before you leave. It is in what they can do for you when the world stops working according to plan. As we move into the next part of this masterclass, we are going to look at the second reason why professionals are indispensable: the concept of the invisible safety net. What happens when your 2026 vacation meets a 2026 global disruption? The answer depends entirely on whose phone number is on your confirmation receipt. We are about to dive into the high-stakes world of crisis management and why having an advocate is the only way to truly protect your vacation investment. Think of your vacation as a high-stakes investment. When you put $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000 into a trip, you are not just buying a plane ticket and a hotel room. You are purchasing a block of time that you can never get back. In 2026, the travel landscape is defined by volatility. From sudden weather patterns shifting across the Pacific Northwest to the ongoing technical glitches that occasionally paralyze major U.S. airline hubs, the risk of disruption is a statistical reality. Historical trends indicate that approximately 1 in 4 domestic flights in the United States experiences some form of delay or cancellation. For the DIY traveler, these moments are a descent into administrative purgatory. For the traveler with a professional agent, these moments are where the invisible safety net manifests into tangible reality. Let's look at a case study involving a traveler named Sarah from Chicago. It is June 2026, and Sarah has spent months planning a complex multi-city tour of the American Southwest. She booked everything herself through a variety of discount websites and direct airline portals. On day 3 of her trip, a massive thunderstorm rolls into Denver, which is her primary connecting hub. Her flight is canceled. Sarah does what every other passenger at the gate does. She opens her airline app, only to find it has crashed under the weight of 10,000 simultaneous users. She calls the customer service line and is told the wait time is 540 minutes. She stands in a line at the terminal that stretches past 3 gates. By the time she reaches a human agent, every alternate flight for the next 48 hours is fully booked. Sarah loses 2 days of her non-refundable boutique hotel stay in Santa Fe and pays triple the price for a last-minute rental car just to keep moving. Now, imagine a different potential outcome for the exact same scenario. Sarah's neighbor at the gate, James, booked the same itinerary through a professional travel advisor. Before the gate agent even picks up the microphone to announce the cancellation, James receives a notification from his advisor. The advisor's monitoring software, which is linked directly to the global distribution system, flagged the flight's mechanical delay 20 minutes before the airline updated the public departure board. While Sarah was still waiting for the app to load, the advisor was already working. The step-by-step resolution for James looks vastly different. Step 1. The advisor identifies the disruption. Step 2. The advisor utilizes their dedicated agency support line, a private, high-priority phone number that bypasses the general public queue. While the public waits 6 hours, the advisor is talking to a carrier representative in 6 minutes. Step 3. The advisor secures one of the last 3 remaining seats on a flight to an alternate regional airport 60 miles away from James's destination. Step 4. The advisor coordinates a private car transfer to bridge that 60-mile gap. By the time Sarah finally gets to the front of the line at the airport, James is already checking into his hotel in Santa Fe. This is not about luck. It is about professional leverage and real-time advocacy. The concept of advocacy extends far beyond flight cancellations. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the travel industry is the hotel overbooking policy. In 2026, hotels continue to use predictive analytics to overbook their rooms by 5 to 10%, betting on a certain number of no-shows. When everyone actually shows up, someone has to be walked. Being walked is the industry term for when a hotel sends a confirmed guest to a different, often inferior property because they have run out of rooms. There is a very specific hierarchy to who gets walked first. Historical trends show that the traveler who booked the lowest rate through a massive third-party discount site is at the top of the list. To the hotel, that guest is a low-margin transaction with no brand loyalty. However, the guest who booked through a professional advisor, especially one affiliated with a major travel consortia, is essentially untouchable. The hotel views that advisor as a high-value business partner who brings in hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue annually. If the hotel walks that advisor's client, they risk damaging a relationship with an entire agency network. The advisor acts as your human shield, ensuring that you are the last person moved and the first person upgraded. Imagine if you arrived at a luxury resort in Key West for your honeymoon, only to be told they gave your ocean view suite to someone else because of a plumbing issue. A DIY traveler has to argue with the front desk manager, who is trained to provide standard corporate apologies. A professional agent, however, calls the director of sales. They remind the property of the volume of business they send. They negotiate not just a fix, but a potential outcome that includes complimentary spa treatments, private dinners, or a move to an even better sister property at no additional cost. This is the power of a professional reputation being used on your behalf. Furthermore, we have to talk about the 2026 reality of travel insurance. Most people click a box when they buy a flight assuming they are covered. But reading a 50-page insurance policy is a specialized skill. When a crisis hits, a travel advisor doesn't just say good luck. They act as your claims advocate. They know exactly which phrases and documentation are required to ensure your claim is processed rather than denied. They understand the difference between a travel delay and a trip interruption, and they ensure you are taking the necessary steps in real time to be eligible for reimbursement later. They are the bridge between the traveler and the insurance provider's legal department. Consider the complexity of traveling with medical needs or high-value equipment in 2026. If a piece of specialized medical equipment is damaged in transit, a DIY traveler is often left navigating a maze of liability waivers and gate agents who are not empowered to help. An advisor, conversely, often has pre-established protocols with airline baggage departments and can escalate a situation to a supervisor within minutes. They are your eyes and ears in the industry, working in a time zone and a language of logistics that you don't have to learn. The invisible safety net is about peace of mind. It is about knowing that when you are on vacation, your job is to relax, and someone else's job is to worry about the gears and cogs of the machine. The sheer psychological weight of being your own advocate is a cost that most travelers fail to calculate. When you remove that weight, the quality of your vacation increases exponentially. You are no longer scanning the skies for clouds or the news for strikes. You are present with your family or your partner. But advocacy is only part of the equation. Having someone to fix the problem is vital, but what if you could avoid the problem entirely? What if the trip was built with such technical precision that the most common points of failure were engineered out of the itinerary before you even left home? This leads us to our next major pillar. While anyone can find a flight and a hotel, very few people understand the art of the perfect transition. We are about to dive into the world of logistical curation. The reason why a travel agent's itinerary feels like a seamless movie, while a DIY itinerary often feels like a series of disjointed events. We are moving from the safety net to the blueprint of the elite experience. What does an agent know about your destination that a 1,000-page guidebook and a million-user review site could never tell you? We are about to explore the myth of the 5-star review and the reality of the curated journey. The digital landscape of 2026 has created a phenomenon known as the review paradox. We are surrounded by more information than ever before, yet we have never been less certain about the quality of the products we are buying. If you go to any major travel review platform today, you are likely looking at a battlefield of conflicting interests. Between AI-generated bot reviews designed to inflate ratings and disgruntled competitors attempting to tank a business, the 5-star rating has lost its objective value. To the untrained eye, a boutique hotel in downtown Manhattan might look like a dream based on its curated photo gallery and a 4.8-star average. But a professional travel advisor sees what the algorithm hides. They know that the hotel recently changed management, that the staff-to-guest ratio has plummeted, or that there is a massive construction project starting next door that will begin at 6 a.m. every morning of your stay. Let's look at a case study involving a traveler named Chloe from Austin. Chloe is planning a high-end getaway to New Orleans for a major jazz festival in April 2026. She relies on her favorite travel app, which identifies a luxury property as a top pick with glowing reviews from last year. Chloe books it, feeling confident in her DIY skills. However, when she arrives, she discovers that the property has outsourced its housekeeping and the once famous rooftop bar is closed for renovations. Details that were buried in fine print or not updated on the third-party site. Because Chloe booked through a massive platform, she has no recourse. She is just another confirmation number in a database of millions. Now, imagine the potential outcome if Chloe had worked with a professional advisor. That advisor likely visited that New Orleans property within the last 6 months as part of a site inspection. In the travel industry, these inspections are the gold standard of ground truth. Advisors walk the hallways, test the water pressure, taste the food, and meet the general manager face-to-face. They know which specific rooms face the quiet courtyard and which ones are plagued by street noise. For Chloe, the advisor would have steered her away from the fading luxury property and toward a newly opened, unranked gem that hasn't yet been flooded by the masses but offers a superior level of service and authenticity. This is the difference between data and wisdom. Logistical curation is the second half of this pillar. A vacation is not just a collection of locations. It is a series of transitions. The transition from the airport to the hotel, from the hotel to the restaurant, and from the city to the countryside. These are the moments where a DIY vacation usually falls apart. Historical trends show that the most significant stress points for U.S. travelers occur in the gaps between the major bookings. A professional advisor treats these gaps with the same level of technical precision as the main events. Consider a traveler named Mark from Seattle, who is planning a multi-generational trip to Washington, D.C. for the summer of 2026. Mark has booked the big things: the flights in a Marriott near the National Mall, But he hasn't accounted for the reality of moving 6 people, including 2 young children and a grandparent with mobility issues, through the sweltering heat and massive crowds of a DC summer. He hasn't considered the timing of timed entry museum tickets versus the typical traffic patterns on a Tuesday afternoon. By day 2, Mark's family is exhausted. They've missed their window for the National Museum of African American History and Culture, and they are spending a fortune on 3 separate rideshare vehicles every time they want to move a mile. A travel advisor's blueprint for Mark would have looked entirely different. Step 1. The advisor coordinates a private Sprinter van with a driver who understands the specific drop-off points that minimize walking for the grandfather. Step 2. The advisor builds a reverse-engineered itinerary based on historical crowd data for 2026, ensuring the family hits the most popular sites during low-traffic windows. Step 3. The advisor secures dining reservations at places that are not just highly rated, but also geographically aligned with their afternoon activities, eliminating the 2-hour transit time that Mark would have otherwise wasted. This level of logistical engineering ensures that the trip feels effortless. When things feel like magic, it is usually because a professional spent 10 hours behind the scenes making sure the gears were greased. There is also the matter of the last mile of travel. In many U.S. destinations, the best experiences are not even listed on public booking sites. They are the private tours, the after-hours access, and the local guides who work exclusively through agency referrals. Imagine if you were visiting the Napa Valley and instead of the standard tasting room experience with 40 other people, you were invited into a private cellar for a tasting with the winemaker, simply because your advisor has been sending clients to that vineyard for 15 years. These are the doors that do not open for a credit card number alone. They open for a relationship. Step by step, the logistical curation process involves a deep dive consultation where the advisor maps out the flow of your day. They look at the orientation of the sun for your photo opportunities. They check the local school schedules to predict when traffic will peak. They verify the current status of every local transit option, while the DIY traveler is staring at a map on their phone trying to figure out which subway line to take. The client of a travel agent is being greeted by a name on a sign and whisked away to their next destination. The myth of the 5-star review is that it tells you what you like. In reality, it tells you what a stranger liked on a specific day 6 months ago. A professional advisor doesn't care about the average. They care about your specific preferences. They know that your 5-star experience requires a firm mattress, a high floor, and a gym that is open 24 hours. They filter the world through your lens. In an age of generic mass-market travel, this hyper-personalization is the only way to ensure that your vacation actually feels like yours. Think about the sheer volume of decision fatigue that comes with planning a modern U.S. vacation. Every time you have to choose between 3 hotels or 4 tour operators, you are using up cognitive energy. By the time you actually leave for your trip, you are already burnt out from the planning process. A travel agent acts as a cognitive filter. They present you with the 2 best options that they have already vetted, allowing you to make the final choice without the crushing weight of having to research every alternative. This is the luxury of curation. It is not about having more choices, it is about having better ones. But even with the best planning and the most curated logistics, there is still the question of the bottom line. Many people avoid travel agents because they believe it will be more expensive. They think that by cutting out the middleman, they are saving money. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to debunk the biggest myth in the travel industry. We are going to look at the financial engineering that happens behind the curtain. We will show you exactly how a travel agent can actually save you more money than you could ever save yourself, even when you factor in their professional fees. We are moving from the experience to the economics. How does a professional turn your travel budget into a high-yield asset? The answer involves a secret pricing structure that has been hidden in plain sight for decades. To understand the financial mechanics of the travel industry in 2026, you have to realize that there is no such thing as a middleman-free price. Every time you book a hotel room, a cruise cabin, or a rental car through a major website or even directly with the brand, a commission is already baked into that price. This is the invisible tax of the travel world. Historically, hotels and travel suppliers have included a 10 to 15% commission in their retail rates to account for the cost of distribution. When you book a $500 a night room at a luxury hotel in New York City by yourself, the hotel simply keeps that $50 to $75 commission as additional profit. You are paying for the service of a travel professional but choosing not to receive it. This is why the DIY model is often a hidden financial drain on the American consumer. Let us look at a case study involving Marcus from Atlanta. In early 2026, Marcus is planning a 10-day high-end tour of California, covering San Francisco, Napa Valley, and Los Angeles. Marcus is a diligent researcher and believes that by using 5 different tabs and 3 price comparison tools, he is optimizing his budget of $8,000. He finds a flight for $800, hotels that total $4,000, and various tours and car rentals for the remainder. He feels accomplished. However, Marcus has fallen into the trap of looking at the price instead of the value. Potential outcomes for Marcus include paying the full retail price for every single component, while missing out on thousands of dollars in embedded benefits. Now, imagine the same budget handled by a professional advisor. The advisor looks at Marcus's $8,000 budget and begins the process of financial engineering. Step 1. The advisor accesses their consortia rates. Because they belong to a network like Virtuoso or Signature, they have access to a specific booking code for that Napa Valley resort that Marcus could never see. While the price on the screen for Marcus and the advisor might both be $500, the advisor's rate includes a confirmed upgrade at the time of booking, a $100 resort credit, and breakfast for 2 daily. In a high-end Napa resort, breakfast for 2 can easily cost $80. Over a 3-night stay, that is $540 in liquid value added back into Marcus's pocket without spending an extra dime. Step 2. The advisor analyzes the flight routing. While Marcus chose a flight based on a $50 savings, the advisor notices that the specific fare class Marcus selected is a restrictive bulk fare with no ability to earn miles or upgrade. The advisor identifies a slightly different fare that, through their agency's private contract with the airline, allows Marcus to use his existing credit card points for a business class upgrade. The advisor has just turned an $800 coach seat into a $5,000 business class experience. This is not about finding the lowest number on a screen. It is about maximizing the yield of every dollar spent. Step 3. The advisor examines the tour components. Marcus booked a standard group tour of Alcatraz and a generic wine tasting. The advisor, using their local ground operator relationships, replaces these with a private evening tour and a library tasting experience at a boutique winery that doesn't even have a public tasting room. These experiences are often priced similarly to the high-volume commercial tours because the advisor is cutting out the massive marketing costs of the public-facing tour companies. Historical trends in 2026 show that travelers who use professional advisors receive an average of $450 in added value per day of travel. For Marcus's 10-day trip, that is $4,500 in value that he would have simply ignored in the DIY model. Furthermore, we must address the professional planning fee. In 2026, many of the top advisors in the United States charge a fee ranging from $250 to $1,000 or more. To the inexperienced traveler, this looks like an extra cost. To the savvy traveler, this is an investment in professional expertise that pays for itself through the avoidance of costly mistakes and the acquisition of non-public perks. If an advisor charges a $500 fee but secures $2,000 in hotel credits and upgrades, the traveler is ahead by $1,500 before the trip even begins. This is the definition of a high-yield asset. Imagine if you were managing a $1 million stock portfolio. You wouldn't make trades based on a 5-star review from a stranger on the internet. You would hire a professional who understands the underlying mechanics of the market. Your vacation budget is your most important personal investment of the year. Treating it with any less professional rigor is a disservice to your hard-earned money. The travel agent in 2026 is essentially a wealth manager for your leisure time, ensuring that your capital is deployed in a way that generates the highest possible emotional and experiential return. Step by step, the financial optimization of a trip involves a process called rate monitoring. Even after you book, a professional advisor system continues to scan for price drops or better inventory. If the price of your hotel in Los Angeles drops 2 weeks before your arrival, the advisor is notified and can often rebook you at the lower rate or negotiate an even better room for the original price. A DIY traveler rarely checks the price of a room they have already booked, meaning they miss out on these market fluctuations. Historical trends show that airline and hotel prices can fluctuate up to 20 times between the date of booking and the date of departure. Having a professional whose software monitors these shifts 24 hours a day is a level of financial protection that the average consumer simply cannot replicate. There is also the critical factor of the bundled package. Professional advisors often have access to private tour operators who bundle flights, luxury transportation, and accommodations into a single net price. These net rates are significantly lower than the sum of their parts because they are designed for the trade only. By accessing these wholesale pools, an advisor can often build a trip that is 10 to 15% cheaper than the public retail price while including more activities and higher quality lodging. For a family of 4 planning a trip to a major U.S. theme park or a national park, these savings can amount to thousands of dollars. The economics of travel in 2026 are heavily skewed in favor of those with professional representation. The major booking engines spend billions of dollars on advertising to convince you that you are getting a deal, but their primary loyalty is to their shareholders and the suppliers who pay them for placement. A travel advisor's primary loyalty is to the client. Their business model depends on you returning to them year after year, which means they are incentivized to ensure you receive the absolute best value for your money. They are your fiduciary in the world of travel. We have now broken down the hidden inventory, the safety net of advocacy, the power of logistical curation, and the complex economics of professional booking. But even with all the money saved and the perks secured, there is one final intangible element that separates a good vacation from a legendary one. It is the one thing an algorithm will never possess, no matter how advanced AI becomes in 2026. It is the ability to understand the nuance of human emotion and the specific unspoken desires that make a trip meaningful. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the fifth and perhaps most powerful reason to hire a travel agent: the mastery of the human element and the art of the personalized surprise. We are about to explore how an advisor creates moments that you didn't even know you wanted, moments that become the defining memories of your life. What is the one thing Marcus didn't even think to ask for that changed his entire California experience? The answer lies in the advisor's secret black book of local connections. The answer lies in the advisor's secret black book of local connections, a resource that no search engine or artificial intelligence can replicate in 2026. While algorithms are exceptionally good at processing billions of data points to find the average preference of the average traveler, they are fundamentally incapable of understanding the nuance of human relationships. In the travel industry, social capital is the most valuable currency. When Marcus was planning his California trip, he was looking for the best wineries in Napa. A quick search would have pointed him to the massive, commercially successful estates that spend millions on digital marketing and search engine optimization. These are the places that appear at the top of every list, the ones with 5,000 reviews in a gift shop. But Marcus's advisor didn't look at a list. The advisor picked up the phone and called a third-generation vintner on Pritchard Hill, whose family only produces 600 cases a year and does not have a public tasting room. This is the difference between being a tourist and being a guest. Potential outcomes for a traveler like Marcus change the moment he steps onto a property where he is expected. In 2026, the travel market is saturated with what we call the influencer trap. These are locations that look incredible in a 15-second video, but offer a hollow, overcrowded experience in reality. A professional advisor acts as a filter against this trend. They possess a network of ground operators, hotel general managers, and local fixers who provide the ground truth. This black book is not just a list of names. It is a decades-long history of mutual professional respect. When an advisor calls a contact in San Francisco to arrange a private tour of an artisan workshop that is usually closed to the public, that door opens because of the advisor's reputation, not because of the traveler's credit card. Imagine if your vacation felt like it was being choreographed by a friend who lived in every city you visited. This is the human element in action. Historical trends show that the most memorable parts of a trip are rarely the monuments or the famous landmarks. Instead, they are the unexpected interactions. The private dinner in a family-owned olive grove, the after-hours access to a museum gallery, or the simple fact that your favorite type of sparkling water was already waiting in the car when you landed at the airport. These details are the result of an advisor's meticulous vetting process. In 2026, a top-tier travel advisor spends up to 20% of their year on the road, personally inspecting the routes, the rooms, and the staff they recommend. They are not just selling a product, they are stakeholding their professional brand on the quality of your experience. Let's look at a case study of the Miller family from Denver, who wanted a unique winter experience in the American Northwest in 2026. They were considering a standard ski resort package they found online. However, their advisor leveraged a local connection in Montana to secure a stay at a private ranch that isn't listed on any major booking site. Through this connection, the Millers were able to participate in a wildlife tracking expedition led by a retired park ranger who usually only works with academic researchers. The potential outcome of this trip was not just a vacation. It was an educational masterclass for their children that left a permanent impact on their lives. This level of access is ungoogleable. It exists in the shadows of the industry, accessible only through the professional trade. Step by step, the way an advisor utilizes their human network involves a process called the preference deep dive. Unlike a website that asks you to check boxes for your interests, a professional advisor conducts an interview. They want to know why you are traveling. Is it to reconnect? Is it to celebrate? Is it to escape? In 2026, as AI-generated travel plans become more common, they are increasingly criticized for being derivative and soulless. They suggest the same 5 activities to everyone who says they like history. A human advisor, however, might realize that your interest in history is specifically tied to maritime engineering. They then use their black book to find a retired naval officer in San Diego who can take you on a private tour of a decommissioned vessel, explaining the mechanics that a standard tour guide wouldn't even know exist. Furthermore, we must discuss the power of the amenity. In the professional travel world, an amenity is more than just a free breakfast. It is a signal of status. When a travel advisor from a major consortia like Virtuoso or Signature Travel Network makes a booking, the hotel's reservation system flags it with a specific code. This code tells the staff that this guest is a VIP. In 2026, hotel management software is highly sophisticated. They know exactly who booked through a discount site and who booked through a high-value partner. Case studies show that the VIP guest is significantly more likely to receive a proactive room upgrade, a handwritten note from the manager, and a higher level of personalized service throughout their stay. This is because the hotel wants the travel advisor to continue sending their most lucrative clients. You are essentially piggybacking on the advisor's massive volume of business to get treated like a celebrity. Consider the complexity of the surprise and delight factor. This is a technical term in the industry for the small, unasked-for gestures that elevate a trip. Imagine if you mentioned to your advisor in passing that your spouse is a fan of a specific obscure jazz musician. 2 weeks later, you walk into your hotel room in New Orleans and find a vintage vinyl record by that artist on a turntable, along with a list of the best under-the-radar jazz clubs in the city curated by a local musician the advisor knows. This level of hyper-personalization is only possible when a human being is listening to you and then using their professional resources to execute a vision. In 2026, we are seeing a massive shift away from the commodity travel of the early 2000s and back toward the high-touch service of the mid-20th century, but with modern technological support. The best travel agents are now using their own proprietary data to track which local guides are performing the best, which restaurants have the most consistent service, and which transportation companies have the cleanest vehicles. This is a living, breathing database that is updated in real time by a community of professionals. When you hire an agent, you are essentially hiring a global intelligence network dedicated to your personal happiness. The human element also provides a layer of cultural translation that is vital for U.S. travelers exploring diverse regions of the country. Whether it is navigating the social etiquettes of a high-end country club in the South or understanding the best way to interact with indigenous communities in the Southwest, an advisor provides the context that prevents you from feeling like an outsider. They prepare you for the destination, and they prepare the destination for you. We have explored the 5 core reasons why the professional advisor is the ultimate tool for the 2026 traveler. Hidden inventory, the safety net of advocacy, logistical curation, financial engineering, and the mastery of the human element. But understanding the reasons is only the first step. The real challenge for the modern consumer is knowing how to navigate the marketplace to find the right advisor. Not all travel agents are created equal, and in an industry that is rapidly evolving, the criteria for excellence have changed. As we move into the next phase of this deep dive, we are going to pull back the curtain on the industry itself. We are going to show you exactly how to vet a travel advisor like a pro. How do you distinguish between a hobbyist and a high-level consultant? What questions should you ask in your first interview to ensure your 5-figure vacation is in the right hands? We are about to break down the specific red flags and green lights that will save you from a mediocre experience. The next part of this masterclass is your guide to the secret language of travel industry credentials. The secret language of travel industry credentials is the first thing you must master if you want to navigate the market in 2026. In an era where anyone with a social media account and a set of vacation photos can claim to be a travel expert, the distinction between a hobbyist and a professional consultant has never been more critical. When you begin your search for an advisor to handle your next U.S. vacation, you are essentially looking for a business partner. You are entrusting them with thousands of dollars and your most precious personal time. To do this successfully, you must look past the aesthetic of their website and deep into the technical infrastructure of their business. The first green light in your vetting process should be the presence of recognized industry certifications. In 2026, the gold standard remains the American Society of Travel Advisors, or ASTA. This is the leading global advocate for travel professionals, and membership requires an agreement to a strict code of ethics. If an advisor is not a member of ASTA, you have to ask why they have chosen not to align themselves with the industry's primary regulatory and ethical body. Beyond ASTA, look for the IATA or IATAN logo. The International Air Transport Association provides a unique identification code to legitimate travel entities. This code is the literal key that opens the door to the global distribution systems we discussed earlier. Without an IATA number, an individual is often just a subagent or a referral seeker, lacking the direct power to issue tickets or manage complex airfare disruptions. Let's look at a case study involving a traveler named Ethan from Boston. In early 2026, Ethan decided to plan a high-stakes corporate retreat in the Rocky Mountains. He initially considered hiring a local influencer who had a massive following and a beautifully curated feed of Colorado landscapes. However, when Ethan performed a professional audit of the influencer's business, he found a significant red flag. The influencer had no errors and omissions insurance. E&O insurance is a professional requirement for any serious travel advisor. It protects both the advisor and the client in the event of a technical mistake or a logistical failure. Historical trends show that hobbyists rarely invest in this level of protection, leaving the traveler vulnerable if a booking is mishandled. Ethan wisely shifted his search to a certified ASTA advisor who specialized in luxury corporate travel, a move that likely saved the retreat from several potential clerical errors. The next step in your vetting process is understanding the power of the consortia. In 2026, a top-tier advisor will almost always be affiliated with a major network like Virtuoso, Signature Travel Network, or Internova. These are not just logos. They are the source of the exclusive perks we've highlighted throughout this masterclass. During your first interview with an advisor, ask them specifically which consortia they belong to and how those relationships will manifest in your itinerary. If they cannot clearly articulate the value adds they provide at major U.S. hotel brands like Montage, Four Seasons, or Auberge, they are likely not operating at the level required for a high-end vacation. Imagine if you were interviewing a financial advisor. You wouldn't just ask if they liked money, you would ask about their fiduciary responsibility, their historical performance, and their specific expertise in certain market sectors. You must treat a travel advisor with the same level of scrutiny. A major red flag to watch for is the no-fee advisor. In 2026, the industry has largely moved toward a professional service fee model. While some agents still work purely on commission, the most elite consultants charge for their time and expertise. If an advisor tells you their service is completely free, they are essentially telling you that they are only being paid by the suppliers they book. This creates a potential conflict of interest where the advisor might be incentivized to suggest the hotel that pays the highest commission rather than the one that best fits your needs. A professional fee aligns the advisor's interests with yours. They are being paid by you to act as your advocate. Step by step, the interview process should involve 3 specific questions designed to reveal the advisor's depth of knowledge. Question 1. Describe a time you handled a major travel disruption for a client in the last 12 months. A professional will have a specific, technical answer involving GDS reticketing or private car coordination. A hobbyist will give a vague answer about calling a customer service line. Question 2. What is your specific area of expertise within the U.S. domestic market? In 2026, the generalist is becoming obsolete. You want someone who specializes. If you are going to the national parks, you want a specialist who has personal relationships with the concessionaires at Yellowstone and Zion. If you are going to Manhattan, you want someone who knows the head concierge at the Carlyle. Question 3. What does your technical stack look like? A modern professional uses sophisticated software like Travefy or UMAP to provide you with a live, mobile-friendly itinerary that updates in real time. If they are sending you a static PDF or a series of forwarded emails, they are not using the tools necessary to protect your trip in 2026. Let's look at a potential outcome for a traveler named Amanda from Nashville. Amanda is planning a complex 2026 honeymoon through the Pacific Northwest. She interviews 2 advisors. The first is a generalist who promises to find the lowest price. The second is a specialist who charges a $300 planning fee, but demonstrates an intimate knowledge of the ferry schedules in the San Juan Islands and has a private contract with a luxury seaplane operator. The specialist identifies a logistical flaw in Amanda's original plan, a ferry connection that is historically unreliable in late autumn, and adjusts the itinerary to include a private charter that costs the same but is significantly more reliable. Amanda chooses the specialist. The result is a seamless transition between destinations that would have been a point of failure for the price-focused generalist. Another critical green light is the advisor's personal travel history and site inspection frequency. In 2026, a professional should be able to tell you not just which hotels are good, but which specific wings of those hotels have been renovated within the last 18 months. They should know if the beach at a particular Florida resort has been affected by recent erosion, or if a popular hiking trail in the Sierras has been closed due to maintenance. This level of ground truth is what separates a consultant from a booking engine. Historical trends indicate that travelers who work with advisors who conduct regular site inspections report a 40% higher satisfaction rate with their accommodations compared to those who rely on online photos. Finally, pay close attention to the communication style. A professional advisor in 2026 acts as a gatekeeper of your time. They should be proactive, not reactive. If you have to follow up with them multiple times to get a response, that is a massive red flag. A top-tier consultant will have a structured onboarding process, a clear timeline for your itinerary development, and a dedicated method for emergency contact during your trip. They should treat your vacation with the same level of organization as a high-level project manager. We have now established the technical reasons why a travel agent is essential and how to find the right one. But hiring the advisor is only the beginning of the journey. To get the absolute maximum value out of a professional relationship, you have to know how to work with them. There is a specific way to communicate your needs and a specific way to leverage their expertise that most travelers get wrong. In the next part of this deep dive, we are going to look at the anatomy of a perfect consultation. We will show you how to brief your advisor to ensure they unlock the absolute best version of your trip. We are moving from the vetting process to the collaboration process. What are the 3 pieces of information most travelers withhold that actually prevent their agents from saving them money? We are about to reveal the secrets to the perfect client-advisor partnership. The 3 pieces of information that most travelers withhold are the absolute total budget, their existing loyalty status or point balances, and their specific travel traumas from the past. When you enter a consultation with a professional advisor in 2026, your transparency is the direct catalyst for the quality of your itinerary. If you treat the advisor like a salesperson you are trying to out-negotiate, you are fundamentally sabotaging your own vacation. In the professional world, this is known as the garbage in, garbage out principle. If you provide incomplete data, the advisor is forced to make assumptions that may not align with your actual needs. To maximize your investment, you must shift from a transactional mindset to a collaborative one. The first piece of hidden data is the total budget. Many U.S. travelers have a habit of lowballing their budget, thinking they are leaving room for the agent to find a deal. Imagine a traveler named Alex from San Francisco. In early 2026, Alex is planning a milestone anniversary trip to the luxury resorts of Sedona and the Grand Canyon. Alex tells his advisor his budget is $5,000, while in reality, he is prepared to spend $8,000 if the value is there. Because the advisor believes the limit is $5,000, they exclude the high-end private Jeep tours and the premium stargazing experiences that require a higher price point. Potential outcomes for Alex include a perfectly fine but ultimately generic trip that misses the mark on the luxury he actually desired. If Alex had been transparent about the $8,000 ceiling, the advisor could have utilized financial engineering to secure a 5-star lodge with an all-inclusive wellness package that actually offers a higher return on investment than the 4-star hotel plus separate activities. In 2026, budgeting is about more than just the hotel and flight. A professional advisor performs an ancillary spend analysis. This involves calculating the cost of meals, ride shares, tips, and spontaneous excursions. Historical trends show that the average DIY traveler underestimates these costs by 30%. By sharing your true total budget, the advisor can allocate funds to high-impact areas. For instance, they might suggest a hotel with a higher sticker price that includes club-level access, which provides complimentary breakfast, afternoon snacks, and evening cocktails. Mathematically, this could save a family of 4 over $200 a day in incidental food costs. Without knowing the full budget, the advisor cannot make these strategic pivots. The second piece of withheld information is the point balance and loyalty status. There is a persistent myth that travel agents do not work with points, or that they only want you to book with cash so they can earn a commission. In reality, a top-tier advisor in 2026 views your loyalty points as a strategic asset to be managed. Imagine if Alex from our previous example had 50,000 Marriott Bonvoy points sitting idle. By disclosing this, the advisor can implement a cash plus points strategy. They might use the points to cover a 2-night stay at a high-value property, allowing them to reallocate that saved cash toward a private helicopter tour over the canyon. Furthermore, if you have status with an airline or hotel group, the advisor can leverage that status during their negotiations with the property manager. They can say, "My client is a Titanium member, and they are celebrating their 10th anniversary. What can we do to make this stay exceptional?" This human-to-human advocacy, backed by your loyalty data, is what triggers the proactive upgrades and personalized amenities that an algorithm would never grant. The third and perhaps most vital piece of information is your travel trauma. Every traveler has a list of things that ruined a past trip, but they often hesitate to share them for fear of sounding picky. In 2026, being picky is a professional requirement. If you stayed at a resort in 2024 where the check-in process took 2 hours, your advisor needs to know that. If you had a bad experience with a specific airline seat pitch, or a hotel's proximity to a busy road, that data is gold. A professional advisor uses this to vet the culture of the next destination. They don't just look at the room photos, they call the front desk manager to ask about their peak hour staffing levels. They use noise mapping software to ensure your room isn't above a delivery dock. By sharing your past frustrations, you allow the advisor to engineer those points of failure out of your 2026 itinerary. The step-by-step process of a perfect consultation involves a discovery phase that feels more like an interview than a booking session. During this phase, the advisor is looking for your emotional drivers. They want to know the why behind the trip. Is this a trip to disconnect from a high-stress job? Is it a trip to expose your children to different cultures within the US? Historical trends show that travelers who focus on the emotional outcome, rather than the destination, report a significantly higher level of satisfaction. If you tell an advisor you want to go to Florida, they have 1,000 options. If you tell them you want your children to see wildlife in a way that feels like an adventure, they might suggest a private airboat tour in the Everglades led by a biologist. The more you share about your motivations, the more the advisor can move from being an order taker to a master curator. Once the discovery phase is complete, the advisor moves into the draft itinerary review. This is where many travelers make a mistake by not giving honest feedback. If the advisor presents an option that doesn't feel right, you must say so immediately. In 2026, travel planning is an iterative process. A professional advisor welcomes your critiques because it helps them refine their understanding of your personal taste. They would much rather spend 2 hours reworking a draft than have you spend 5 days on a vacation that doesn't excite you. You should treat the draft as a conversation starter, not a final verdict. Imagine if your travel planning felt like a luxury concierge service where your only job was to say yes or no. This is the potential outcome of a high-level client-advisor partnership. As you move toward the finalization phase, the advisor's technical stack comes into play. They will provide you with a digital itinerary that is synchronized with your calendar and available offline on your mobile device. This itinerary includes more than just confirmation numbers. It includes walking directions between your activities, curated dining suggestions for your free time, and direct links to your advisor's emergency support line. But even with the best briefing and the most transparent budget, there is one final technical hurdle that most U.S. travelers are facing in 2026: the complexity of modern travel insurance and legal protections. As we move into the 9th part of this deep dive masterclass, we are going to tackle the dense and often confusing world of travel protection. We will look at why the insurance you buy on a checkout page is often functionally useless, and how a professional advisor navigates the fine print to ensure your financial investment is truly shielded. We are about to look at a case study of a $20,000 vacation that was saved by a single clause in a contract that only a professional would have known to include. What is the one sentence in your travel contract that could be the difference between a full refund and a total loss? The answer is coming up next in our deep dive into the legalities and protections of the modern travel industry. The one sentence that determines the fate of your investment is often buried deep in the terms and conditions, specifically under the section labeled supplier default or financial insolvency. In 2026, we have seen a rise in boutique travel suppliers and local tour operators that offer incredible, hyperlocal experiences, but lack the massive capital reserves of a global airline. If you book a $20,000 custom tour through the American West on your own, and that company suddenly ceases operations due to a localized economic shift or a management failure, your money is essentially gone. Most standard credit card protections and basic travel insurance policies found on checkout pages explicitly exclude supplier financial default. This means you are a secondary creditor in a bankruptcy proceeding that could take years to resolve. However, a professional travel advisor operates with a technical understanding of the errors and omissions landscape and only partners with suppliers who are vetted by organizations like the United States Tour Operators Association, or USTOA. This organization maintains $1 million traveler's assistance program that protects your funds in the event of a member's bankruptcy. Imagine a traveler named Benjamin from Denver. It is October 2026, and Benjamin has spent 2 years saving for a luxury $20,000 multi-state expedition through the Great Smoky Mountains and into the South Carolina Lowcountry. He booked this through a high-end adventure firm he found on social media. 2 weeks before his departure, he receives an automated email stating the company is liquidating. Because Benjamin was a DIY traveler, he spent the next 6 months in a legal quagmire, discovering that his travel insurance did not cover insolvency and his bank could not claw back the funds because the transaction happened more than 60 days prior. Benjamin's potential outcome was a total financial loss. Now, consider the case study of a traveler in the exact same position who worked with a professional advisor. The advisor's agency maintains a bond and professional liability coverage, but more importantly, the advisor had already performed a risk assessment on the supplier. Historically, professional advisors receive industry alerts about the financial health of tour operators months before the public sees them. If a supplier shows signs of distress, the advisor proactively moves the client's funds to a more stable partner. Even if the collapse happened overnight, the advisor's membership in a major consortia often provides an additional layer of consumer protection that the general public cannot access. This is the difference between buying a product and investing in a protected asset. Step by step, the protection process starts with a contract audit. When an advisor presents you with a booking, they are not just looking at the dates and the price. They are looking at the force majeure clause. In a 2026 climate, where weather patterns are increasingly volatile, the definition of an act of God has expanded. A professional advisor ensures that the contract includes language that favors the traveler, such as a right to a full refund in the event of a government-mandated travel restriction or a major regional disruption. While a DIY traveler might be forced to accept a travel credit that expires in 12 months, an advisor has the leverage to negotiate a cash refund, because they represent a collective of hundreds of travelers, not just one. The second technical layer is the distinction between travel insurance and travel protection. Most people use these terms interchangeably, but they are functionally different. Travel insurance is a regulated financial product that covers specific risks like medical emergencies or trip cancellations for a covered reason. Travel protection is often a non-insurance waiver offered by a tour operator that provides more flexibility, but less legal oversight. A professional advisor in 2026 performs a gap analysis on your behalf. They look at your existing health insurance, your credit card benefits, and the supplier's policies to identify where you are exposed. They might find that while your health insurance covers you in your home state, it has limited out-of-network coverage for a medical evacuation in a remote area of a national park. They then fill that gap with a highly specific primary medical policy that ensures you are never hit with a $50,000 bill for a helicopter transport. Furthermore, we must address the 2026 reality of cancel for any reason or CFAR coverage. Many U.S. travelers believe CFAR is a magic wand, but the fine print is a minefield. Most CFAR policies only reimburse 75% of the non-refundable costs and require the cancellation to happen at least 48 hours before departure. A professional advisor understands the timing of these windows. If you are experiencing a situation that might lead to a cancellation, the advisor monitors the clock. They know exactly when to pull the trigger to ensure you qualify for the maximum reimbursement. They also handle the onerous task of documenting the claim. Historical trends show that 30% of travel insurance claims are initially denied due to improper documentation. An advisor acts as your claims advocate, ensuring that every receipt, every medical note, and every communication from the airline is organized and presented in the specific format that insurance adjusters require. Imagine if you had a personal attorney and a financial officer managing your vacation. That is what the relationship looks like when things go wrong. In 2026, the complexity of the airline passenger bill of rights has also reached a peak. If an airline bumps you from a flight or delays you for more than 3 hours on the tarmac, you are often entitled to significant compensation under U.S. Department of Transportation regulations. However, airlines rarely volunteer this information. A travel advisor knows exactly which regulatory codes to cite when speaking to an airline representative. They ensure you receive the cash compensation you are legally owed, rather than a measly meal voucher. The legal and financial advocacy of a travel advisor is effectively a form of expert-level risk management. They are looking at the downside while you are looking at the sunset. They ensure that every dollar you commit is protected by a multi-layered shield of contracts, insurance, and professional reputation. This protection is not just about the money, it is about the ability to try again. If a trip is canceled and your money is lost, you might not be able to afford that vacation for another 3 years. If your money is protected and returned, you can rebook for next month. This is how you protect the longevity of your travel lifestyle. As we move toward the final part of this masterclass, we have covered the 5 pillars of why a travel agent is your most valuable asset. Hidden inventory, the safety net of advocacy, logistical curation, financial engineering, and the human element. We have looked at how to vet your advisor and how to brief them for success. But there is one final piece of the puzzle that ties everything together. It is the long-term compounding value of a dedicated travel advisor. We are about to look at the difference between a one-off trip and a lifelong travel strategy. How does a professional help you map out the next decade of your life's adventures to ensure you see everything you've ever dreamed of, without the stress of the unknown? In the final part of our deep dive, we are going to look at the portfolio approach to travel and the final checklist you need before you book your next U.S. vacation. The transition from a vacationer to a traveler starts here. The portfolio approach to travel is the realization that your leisure time is a finite resource that requires the same strategic management as your financial investments. In 2026, the most successful travelers have moved away from the reactive model of planning one trip at a time and have transitioned to a 10-year roadmap. This is where the travel advisor becomes more than just a booking agent. They become a legacy architect. Historical trends suggest that families who map out their major milestones 3 to 5 years in advance report a significantly higher level of satisfaction and lower stress levels than those who decide on a destination 6 months before departure. Imagine a case study involving the Anderson family from Chicago. In early 2026, they sat down with their travel advisor not to book a summer vacation, but to perform a comprehensive life stage audit. They looked at the next decade, their eldest daughter graduating high school in 2028, a 40th wedding anniversary in 2031, and a planned retirement in 2034. By looking at the horizon, the advisor was able to identify the potential outcomes of specific travel windows. For the graduation, the advisor suggested a high-energy domestic expedition through the Alaskan wilderness, securing the limited entry permits for remote lodges 2 years before they were even available to the general public. For the anniversary, they flagged a specific luxury train route across the American West that only operates 6 times a year. By treating travel as a portfolio, the Andersons were able to average out their travel spend, alternating high-cost milestone years with more modest, restorative getaways, ensuring that their budget was always aligned with their long-term goals. Step by step, building a travel portfolio involves a 3-tier analysis. Tier 1 is the legacy list, the non-negotiable, high-impact experiences that you want to share with your family while everyone is still mobile and interested. Tier 2 is the maintenance layer, the annual or biannual trips designed for rest and reconnection. Tier 3 is the opportunistic layer, the trips you take because a unique opening in your schedule or a specific market fluctuation makes a destination particularly attractive. A professional advisor uses specialized software to track these layers, ensuring that you aren't trying to do too much in a single year or missing a window for a destination that is currently undergoing a period of high popularity or limited access. This leads us to the final checklist you need before you book your next U.S. vacation in 2026. This is not just a list of reminders. It is a technical audit of your travel readiness. Use this checklist as a defensive wall against the volatility of the modern industry. First, verify the technical agency credentials. In 2026, you must confirm that your advisor is not just a member of ASTA, but that they have a verified IATA or CLIA number. This is your insurance that the advisor has direct skin in the game and is recognized by the suppliers they are booking. Ask for their specific agency affiliation and verify their standing in their consortia. If they are part of a network like Virtuoso or Signature, they should be able to provide you with a written summary of the specific amenities that affiliation unlocks for your specific destination. Second, perform an advocacy protocol check. Ask your advisor exactly what happens at 3 a.m. if your flight is canceled and you are standing at a gate in Charlotte or Dallas. Do they have a 24-hour emergency support line? Is that line staffed by their own team or a third-party call center? Historical trends show that travelers who have direct access to their advisor's internal support team have a 60% higher recovery rate for lost time and expenses compared to those using generic outsourced help. You are paying for a person, not a script. Third, evaluate the digital infrastructure. A professional travel advisor in 2026 should be providing you with a dynamic, mobile-first itinerary. If they are handing you a folder of paper or a static PDF, they are failing the technical requirement of the modern era. Your itinerary should be a living document that updates automatically if a flight gate changes or a dining reservation is moved. It should include offline maps, direct contact buttons for every supplier, and a secure vault for your digital documents. If your advisor isn't using tools like Travefy or UMapped, they are not equipped to handle the rapid shifts of 2026 travel. Fourth, confirm the financial engineering strategy. Your advisor should be able to show you a side-by-side comparison of the value they are adding. This shouldn't just be about the lowest price. It should be an analysis of the net value. This includes the dollar value of the breakfast credits, the spa vouchers, the room upgrades, and the professional fee. If the advisor cannot demonstrate how their presence in the transaction increases the total yield of your budget, they are an order taker, not a consultant. Fifth, assess the human connection and cultural fit. This is the most subjective but perhaps the most important point. Does the advisor understand your specific travel personality? Do they know that you hate crowded lobbies but love high-end fitness centers? Do they understand your dietary restrictions and your preference for late checkouts? A true professional advisor should feel like a trusted family doctor for your leisure time. They should know your history and be anticipating your future needs before you even articulate them. Imagine if every vacation you took from this point forward was not just a standalone event, but a carefully placed piece of a larger puzzle. Imagine the potential outcomes when you are no longer the one fighting with an airline app or wondering if the photos of the hotel were taken 10 years ago. You are moving from a state of travel anxiety to a state of travel mastery. The transition from a vacationer to a traveler is about shifting your perspective from consumption to investment. You are investing your time, your money, and your memories into a system designed to protect and enhance them. In 2026, the world is louder, busier, and more complex than ever. The travel advisor is the quiet professional in the corner making sure the noise doesn't reach you. They are the ones navigating the back-end systems, managing the high-stakes logistics, and leveraging the multi-million-dollar relationships so that all you have to do is show up and be present. This deep dive masterclass has been designed to give you the blueprint for that experience. We have deconstructed the 5 pillars, analyzed the financial mechanics, and provided the vetting tools to ensure you never have a mediocre vacation again. But as we look toward the future of the American vacation, a new challenge is emerging on the horizon. The rise of hyper-personalized biometric travel and the shifting landscape of sustainable luxury are beginning to change the very definition of a 5-star experience. There is a secret shift happening in the way the most elite travelers are approaching the next decade, and it involves a concept called the invisible journey. What happens when the hotel knows you better than you know yourself? What happens when your destination is chosen not by a map, but by your biological clock? We are entering a new era of travel where the agent is becoming a lifestyle scientist. The next level of this masterclass will explore the frontier of 2027 and beyond, revealing the technologies and strategies that are about to make everything we know about travel today look like ancient history. The blueprint for your next decade of adventure is already being written.